The crack was so loud I thought someone dropped a plate. Turns out it was my arm. I stared at it, my left wrist bent at an angle wrists aren't supposed to bend, and for a second my brain just buffered. Like when a video freezes midstream and you're stuck looking at the same frame, waiting for it to catch up. Then the pain hit, white hot, blinding, the kind that makes your vision go spotty and your stomach flip inside out. I bit down on my lips so hard I tasted copper. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to give him that. Look what you made me do. His voice came from somewhere above me, all fake concern and underlaid venom. Classic. He always said it like that. Like I was the one who'd grabbed my own arm and twisted until something snapped. I didn't look up at him. Didn't want to see that expression he always wore after. The one that tried to look sorry but came off more annoyed. Like I was a vase he'd knocked over and now he had to clean up the mess. My phone was on the floor 3 feet away, screen down on the kitchen tile. I dropped it when he grabbed me. He was still talking. Something about how I never listened and what did I expect and blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I stopped processing his voice months ago. It all sounded the same. Justifications dressed up as apologies, dressed up as threats. I kept my eyes on the phone. If I could just, he turned away, just for a second, grabbed his jacket off the back of the chair, muttering something about needing air. I didn't wait. The moment his back was to me, I lunged. My good hand shot out, fingers closing around the phone, and I dragged it toward me, cradling it against my chest like it was the last life raft on a sinking ship. My wrist screamed. I ignored it. He was still talking, still pacing, still entirely convinced I was too scared or too broken to do anything. Wrong. I unlocked the screen with my thumb, thank God for Face ID, because my hands were shaking so bad I would have missed the passcode twice, and pulled up my messages. Mom's contact was right there at the top. We'd texted earlier about dinner plans I was supposed to cancel, plans I'd lied about, plans that didn't exist because I hadn't left this apartment in 4 days. I didn't think, didn't plan it out. I just typed. He broke my arm. Sent. The little swoosh sound felt louder than it should have, louder than the crack, louder than his voice. I locked the phone and shoved it under my thigh, pulse hammering in my throat. He stopped pacing. I held my breath. You texting someone? His tone was casual, too casual, the kind of calm that came right before the storm. No, I said, voice steady, steadier than I felt. Dropped it. Screen's probably cracked. He stared at me. I stared at the wall. 5 seconds, 10, then he laughed, short, sharp. You're a terrible liar. My stomach dropped. He moved toward me, and I pressed my back against the cabinets, phone digging into my leg like a live wire. Show me. It's nothing. Show me. I swallowed, tasted blood again. My mind raced. If he saw the text, if he saw I'd messaged Mom, he'd take the phone. He'd smash it. Or worse, he'd call her himself, spin some story about how I fell or wasn't feeling well, and she'd believe him because she always did, because he was charming, because he knew how to smile, because I'd never told her the truth. He held out his hand, waiting. I was about to pull the phone out, about to surrender, about to let him win again when it buzzed. Once, twice, 3 times in a row. His eyes narrowed. Who's texting you? I didn't know. Mom didn't text back that fast. She barely texted at all. Usually she called, always called, said texting felt impersonal. Another buzz, he lunged. I twisted, tried to roll away, but my broken wrist hit the floor and I saw stars. The phone slipped, skittered across the tile. He grabbed it first. No password on the lock screen previews. I'd turned that off months ago for exactly this reason. He read the notifications. I watched his face shift. Confusion first, then irritation. Who the hell is this? I blinked. What? He turned the phone toward me. 4 messages, 4 different numbers, same area code. Where are you? Are you safe right now? Send your location. We're coming. Don't text back if he's watching. Just drop a pin. I stared. That wasn't my mom. I didn't recognize the numbers. Didn't recognize the tone. Didn't recognize the we. Who is we? He was in my face now, gripping the phone so tight I thought the screen might crack for real. "Who the fuck did you text?" "I don't know." And I didn't. I really, truly didn't. I'd sent the message to Mom. I was sure of it. I'd clicked her name. Oh no, no. I hadn't clicked her name. I'd clicked the contact right below hers, the one I didn't recognize. The one that must have been added by mistake or a pocket dial or some weird spam thing I never bothered deleting. A number I didn't know. A number that had just promised to come get me. He was yelling now. Loud. Too loud. Saying things I wasn't processing because my brain was still stuck on those 4 texts. "We're coming." Who the hell says that? Who responds to a random text from a stranger like it's a distress signal? Who says we? Another buzz. He looked down, face going red, hands shaking. "If you're scared to answer, we're on our way. Cops too. Sit tight." His eyes snapped to mine. Wild, furious. "You called the cops?" "I didn't." "You called the cops?" "I didn't." My voice cracked. "I don't know who that is." He didn't believe me. I could see it. Could see the panic creeping in under the anger. He threw the phone. It hit the wall. Didn't shatter, thank you, overpriced case, but it hit hard enough that the sound echoed. Then he grabbed his keys. "If anyone shows up," he said, voice low and shaking, "you tell them you fell. You tell them it was an accident. You tell them I wasn't even here." He didn't wait for me to answer. The door slammed behind him, and I sat there, alone. Broken wrist cradled against my chest, phone somewhere across the room, wondering if I'd just made the worst mistake of my life, or the first good decision in months. I didn't move for a solid 30 seconds, just sat there on the cold kitchen floor, back pressed against the cabinets, trying to remember how to breathe like a normal person, and not someone who just watched their life implode via text message. My wrist throbbed, a deep, ugly pulse that radiated up my forearm and made my fingers tingle in a way that definitely wasn't good. But that wasn't what had me frozen. It was the silence. He was gone. Actually gone. No stomping back through the door to grab something he forgot. No sudden return with a new accusation. Just gone. And I was alone with a broken arm and a phone that had somehow connected me to complete strangers who'd said we're coming like it was the most normal thing in the world. I forced myself to move. Crawling because standing felt like a bridge too far right now. I made my way across the tile to where my phone had landed. It was face up near the trash can, screen still lit. 6 messages now. I picked it up with my good hand, squinting at the notifications. ETA 12 minutes. Do not open the door for anyone until we get there. Is he still in the apartment? My thumb hovered over the screen. I should have been terrified. Should have been wondering if I'd accidentally texted some serial killer gang who was about to show up and make my night even worse. But honestly, after 4 months of living with someone who'd perfected the art of making me feel like I was losing my mind, a little chaos from strangers felt almost refreshing. I typed back with one hand, autocorrect doing most of the heavy lifting. He left. Who is this? The response was instant. You texted us for help. We're helping. Well, that didn't answer the question. I meant to text my mom. Lucky us then. I blinked at the screen. Was this guy flirting in the middle of my crisis? Another message popped up. Different number this time. Ignore him. Are you hurt? Do you need an ambulance? Oh. There really were multiple people. I looked down at my wrist. It was swelling now, skin tight and shiny, already starting to bruise in deep purple smudges that spread like watercolor. Broken wrist, I think. I'm fine. You're not fine. I'm functioning. Cute. Still not fine. I almost laughed. Would've if it didn't hurt to breathe too deep. A third number chimed in. 10 minutes out. Sit tight. Don't move anything. This one was curt, businesslike, the kind of text you get from someone who said things once and expected you to listen. I sat back against the cabinets, phone clutched in my good hand, and stared at the door. 10 minutes. 10 minutes until a bunch of strangers showed up at my apartment because I'd fat-fingered a cry for help into the void and somehow hit jackpot on the Savior lottery. assuming they were actually saviors, assuming they weren't worse. My brain tried to spiral, but my wrist hurt too much to entertain full-blown panic, so I just sat there cataloging the damage. Broken wrist, split lip, bruised ribs from last week that still hadn't healed right, and probably a concussion from when I'd hit my head on the counter 2 days ago. But that one was hard to confirm without, a doctor, which I hadn't seen because he always had a reason I shouldn't go. They'll ask questions. You'll make things worse. Do you want people thinking I'm some kind of monster? The funny thing was, I believed him. For a while. Believed that keeping quiet was safer. That if I just waited it out, things would get better. Spoiler alert, they didn't. My phone buzzed again. You still there? I typed back. Where else would I go? Fair point. What's your name? I hesitated. Giving my name felt like crossing a line, like making this real. But then again, they were apparently 10 minutes away from showing up at my door, so pseudonyms felt a little pointless. Elliot. Elliot, good name. Thanks, I picked it myself. Okay, I didn't. My parents did. But something about the absurdity of the situation was making me feel weirdly bold. I'm Dane. Callum. West. 3 names. 3 people. We're coming. Right. That tracked. Are you guys like a rescue squad or something? Or something. That's not comforting. Wasn't trying to comfort you. Trying to get to you. West, stop being cryptic. I'm not cryptic. I'm efficient. You're an ass. I watched the messages pile up, a weird bubble of something almost like amusement rising in my chest. These people were bickering, actively bickering, in the middle of apparently racing to my rescue. Are you 3 always like this? Yes. Unfortunately. You'll get used to it. Get used to it. Like I was going to see them again after tonight. Like this wasn't just some random Good Samaritan thing that would end with them dropping me at an ER and disappearing into the night like some kind of vigilante Justice League. Another buzz. 5 minutes. Is the door locked? I glanced at it. Yes. Good. Keep it that way until you hear us knock. How will I know it's you? You'll know. Again with the cryptic thing. I was about to type back something sarcastic when I heard it. Footsteps. In the hallway. My entire body went rigid. He came back. Of course he came back. He always came back. The footsteps stopped right outside my door. I held my breath, phone clutched so tight my knuckles went white. A knock. 3 sharp raps. Then a voice. Low, unfamiliar. Elliot? I didn't move. It's us. Open the door. Us. I looked down at my phone. The last message was timestamped 2 minutes ago. They couldn't be here yet. Could they? Elliot. The voice was firmer now, still calm, but with an edge that said he wasn't used to waiting. We're not leaving until you open this door, so you can either do it now or we're picking the lock. That's illegal, I called back, and immediately winced because my voice cracked halfway through. A pause, then a different voice, warmer, almost amused. So is breaking someone's arm. Okay, fair. I pushed myself up, cradling my wrist against my chest, and limped to the door. My hand hovered over the lock. This was stupid. This was so incredibly stupid. I didn't know these people. Didn't know what they wanted. Didn't know if this was about to go from bad to catastrophically worse. But my wrist was broken, and my lip was bleeding, and I was so tired of being scared of the wrong things. I twisted the lock, opened the door, and came face to face with 3 men who looked like they'd walked straight out of a cologne ad and into my disaster of a life. The closest one, tall, dark hair, sharp jaw, eyes like slate, looked me up and down, gaze catching on my wrist. His expression didn't change, but the air around him did. Which hospital? He said. Not high. Not, are you okay? Just, which hospital? I don't, which hospital? I blinked. I'm not going to a hospital. All 3 of them stared at me. Then the one in the middle, blonde, stupid cheekbones, infuriatingly pretty, smiled. Oh, he said lightly, you're fun. Fun, I repeated, still standing in my doorway like an idiot, while 3 absolute strangers stared at me like I was a particularly interesting puzzle they hadn't decided whether to solve or dismantle. Pretty sure fun isn't the word most people use for someone with a broken wrist. Most people are boring, the blonde one said. He leaned against the door frame like he had all the time in the world, which felt wildly inappropriate given the circumstances. The tall one with the slate eyes didn't move, just kept looking at me with that unreadable expression that was somehow both intimidating and weirdly steady. You need a hospital, he said again. I need a lot of things, I shot back. A hospital isn't in the top 5. His jaw tightened, just barely, like he was physically restraining himself from arguing. The third one, the one who hadn't spoken yet, stepped forward. He was quieter than the other two, broader shoulders, dark eyes that looked at me like he was cataloging every bruise, every shake in my hands, every stupid decision I'd made in the last 6 months. Can we come in? His voice was low, careful, the kind of careful people used when they thought you might bolt. I almost laughed. You drove all the way here because of a text I sent by accident, and now you're asking permission? Yes. Just that. No elaboration. No justification. I looked between the three of them. This was insane. This was absolutely, categorically insane. But I was also standing in a doorway with a broken wrist, a bleeding lip, and approximately 0 better options. I stepped back. They came in. All three of them moved like they'd done this before. Smooth, coordinated. The tall one went straight to the windows, checking the locks. The blonde one closed the door behind them and flipped the deadbolt. The quiet one stayed close to me, hands loose at his sides, gaze tracking every flinch I tried to hide. Sit, the quiet one said, nodding toward the couch. I'm not a dog. Didn't say you were. He pulled out his phone, typed something quick. But you look like you're about to pass out, so maybe sit anyway. I hated that he was right. I made it to the couch and dropped onto it harder than I meant to. My wrist flared, hot and sharp, and I bit down on the inside of my cheek to keep from making a sound. The blonde one crouched in front of me, elbows resting on his knees. Up close, he was even more annoyingly attractive. The kind of face that should have come with a warning label. I'm Dane, he said, like we were at a networking event and not my disaster of an apartment. That's Callum. He nodded toward the quiet one. And the brooding statue by the window is West. West didn't acknowledge the introduction, just kept staring out at the street below like he was expecting someone. Maybe he was. Maybe he was coming back. My stomach twisted. Relax, Dane said, reading my face like it was a billboard. If he comes back, he's not getting past us. You don't even know who he is. Don't need to. His voice was still light. Easy. But there was something underneath it now. Something sharp. We know what he did. Callum moved to the kitchen, started opening cabinets. You got ice? Freezer. He found it, wrapped some in a towel and came back, kneeling beside the couch. This is going to hurt, he said, and didn't wait for permission before pressing the makeshift ice pack against my wrist. I hissed through my teeth. I know, he murmured. His hand was steady, warm against my arm even through the towel. You're doing good. I wasn't doing anything except sitting here trying not to cry, but I didn't argue. Dane tilted his head, studying me. So, Elliot, you gonna tell us what happened, or do we get to fill in the blanks ourselves? Does it matter? Yeah, Wes said from the window. First thing he'd said since walking in. His voice was rougher than I expected. It does. I looked at him. He still wasn't looking at me. Why? Because we're trying to figure out if we're calling the cops or handling this ourselves. My breath caught. Handling it. Figure of speech, Dane said quickly, shooting West a look that clearly meant shut up. West ignored him. Callum pulled the ice back, checked my wrist. His fingers brushed the edge of the bruising, and I flinched before I could stop myself. His gaze snapped to mine. Held. Who did this? The question was quiet, almost gentle. I should have lied. Should have said I fell. Should have given them the same line I'd been giving myself for months. But I was tired. So tired. My boyfriend, I said. Ex-boyfriend. As of tonight, I guess. Dane's jaw tightened. Callum's hand stilled. West finally turned from the window. He still have a key? West asked. I nodded. Then he's not your ex yet. West crossed the room in 3 long strides, held out his hand. Phone. What? Your phone. Give it to me. I hesitated. Why? Because you texted us by accident, and I want to make sure he doesn't have access to anything he shouldn't. That actually made sense. I handed it over. West unlocked it with a glance at the screen, started scrolling. His expression darkened. You share locations with him? He wanted to. That's not what I asked. Yes. West turned the phone toward Dane and Callum, showed them something. I couldn't see what, but both of their faces shifted. Turn it off, Callum said. West was already doing it, fingers moving fast over the screen. Blocking his number too, and changing your passcode. You can't just, I just did. He handed the phone back. New code is 0908. Change it later if you want, but don't use anything he'd guess. I stared at the phone, at the lock screen that now showed a number I hadn't chosen. These people were completely steamrolling my life, and I didn't even have the energy to be mad about it. Why are you doing that? I asked. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. Dane looked at Callum. Callum looked at West. West looked at me. Because you asked for help, he said simply. I didn't ask you. I didn't even know you existed. Doesn't matter. He crossed his arms, leaned back against the wall. You asked, we answered. That's not how the world works. It's how we work. Dane stood, stretched. Okay, so here's what's going to happen. We're taking you to the ER, getting that wrist looked at. Then we're coming back here, packing your stuff, and getting you somewhere safe. I almost laughed. I don't even know you. You will. This is insane. Yeah, Dane agreed, grinning. But you're still coming. What if I say no? Callum stood too, still holding the ice pack. Then we'll wait here until you say yes. That's kidnapping. That's commitment, Dane corrected. West pushed off the wall, walked to the door, opened it, looked back at me. You coming or not? I stared at him, at all three of them, at the apartment that had stopped feeling like home months ago, at the door that led to a hallway I'd walked down 1,000 times, always alone, always smaller. I thought about my mom, who I hadn't told the truth to because I didn't want her to worry. I thought about the friends I'd stopped seeing because he said they didn't understand us. I thought about the version of myself I used to be before I learned how to make myself quiet, and I thought very clearly, screw it. I stood. Fine, I said, but if you're serial killers, I'm haunting all three of you. Dane laughed. Callum almost smiled. West just held the door open. Deal, he said. The hallway felt longer than it should have, maybe because I was walking it for the first time in months without that tight knot of dread in my stomach, or maybe because I had 3 strangers flanking me like I was some kind of VIP instead of a guy with a broken wrist and questionable life choices. West was ahead, moving like he had a map of every exit memorized. Dane was beside me, close enough that his shoulder brushed mine every few steps. Callum brought up the rear, and I could feel his gaze on my back like a physical weight. Elevator or stairs? West asked without turning around. Elevator, I said, unless you want me passing out halfway down. Elevator it is. We stopped in front of the doors. West hit the button. The numbers above lit up. 4th floor, 3rd, 2nd. I focused on breathing, on staying upright, on not thinking about the fact that I was leaving my apartment with 3 men I'd known for approximately 20 minutes. The elevator dinged. Doors slid open, empty. Thank God. We stepped inside. Dane hit the button for the ground floor. The doors closed, and suddenly the space felt a lot smaller. I was pressed between Dane and Callum, West directly in front of me, and the air was thick with something I couldn't name. Something that made my pulse kick up for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. You okay? Callum's voice was low. Meant just for me. I nodded, didn't trust my voice. His hand brushed my elbow. Steadying. Breathe. I hadn't realized I'd stopped. The elevator hummed, descended. Dane glanced down at me. You know, most people say thank you by now. Most people don't get their entire evening hijacked by strangers. Hijacked, he repeated, grinning. I like that. Makes us sound cool. You sound delusional. Potato, potato. West made a noise that might have been a laugh, might have been a sigh. Hard to tell with his back to us. The elevator stopped. Doors opened. Lobby. West stepped out first, scanning the space like he expected an ambush. When he seemed satisfied, he nodded. We followed. The front desk was empty. Night shift guy was probably in the back watching something on his phone. He never paid attention anyway. We made it to the front doors without incident. West pushed them open, held them, and I stepped outside for the first time in 4 days. The air hit me like a slap. Cold, sharp, exactly what I needed. I sucked in a breath and almost laughed because it didn't hurt. Not the way it usually did when I tried to do anything that felt remotely like freedom. "Cars this way," Wes said, nodding toward the street. I followed his gaze. There was a black SUV parked at the curb. Sleek, expensive looking. The kind of car that probably cost more than my entire year's rent. "Of course you drive that," I muttered. Dane laughed. "What, you want us to show up in a minivan?" "I want you to be slightly less obvious." "Where's the fun in that?" Callum moved ahead, opened the back door, gestured for me to get in. I hesitated. This was it, the point of no return. Once I got in that car, I was committed to whatever this was, to trusting 3 people I had no reason to trust except for the fact that they'd shown up when no one else had. "Elliot," Callum said quietly, "you don't have to do this. If you want to stay, we'll stay with you. If you want us to leave, we'll leave. But if you get in this car, we're getting that wrist fixed. Deal?" I looked at him, at the way he was standing there, patient, like he'd wait all night if that's what it took. At Dane, who was watching me with something that looked almost like hope. At West, who wasn't even looking at me anymore, but was staring down the street like he was keeping watch. I got in the car. Callum slid in beside me. Dane took the passenger seat. West got behind the wheel. The engine purred to life, and we pulled away from the curb. I watched my building disappear in the side mirror. Watched the street I'd walked down 1,000 times fade into the distance. Didn't feel sad. Didn't feel scared. Felt nothing. And that was almost worse. "There's a hospital 10 minutes from here," Wes said, eyes on the road. "Or we can take you to a private clinic. Your call." "What's the difference?" "Hospital asks questions. Clinic doesn't." "Right, because that wasn't ominous at all." "Clinic," I said. Wes nodded, took the next left. Dane turned in his seat, looked back at me. "You gonna tell us his name?" "Why?" "So we know who to avoid if he shows up looking for you." "He won't." "You sure about that?" I wasn't, not even a little bit. But I didn't want to think about him right now. Didn't want to give him any more space in my head than he'd already taken. "His name's Marcus," I said finally. "And if he shows up, he'll probably try to convince you I'm lying." "Good thing we're not easily convinced," Dane said. Callum shifted beside me. His knee brushed mine. "How long?" "How long what?" "How long has he been hurting you?" The question landed like a punch. I stared out the window, watched the streetlights blur past. 4 months, I said. "Give or take." Silence, heavy, suffocating. Then Dane spoke, voice tight. "And tonight was the first time you tried to leave?" "Tonight was the first time I couldn't pretend it wasn't happening." More silence. Wes' hands tightened on the steering wheel. Just slightly, but I noticed. Callum's jaw clenched. Dane looked like he wanted to say something, but didn't trust himself to speak. "I'm not broken," I said, because apparently I needed to fill the silence before it crushed me. "I know that's what this looks like, but I'm not." "We know," Callum said. "Do you?" He turned to look at me. "Really look at me." "Yeah, we do." I wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that I wasn't just some charity case they'd picked up because they had hero complexes and too much time on their hands. But belief was a luxury I couldn't afford right now. The car slowed, pulled into a small parking lot. A building sat ahead. Nondescript. No signs. Just a plain glass door and a single light above it. "We're here," Wes said. I looked at the building, at the door, at the 3 men who'd somehow become the most stable thing in my life in the span of half an hour. "You're all coming in?" I asked. "Yeah," Dane said, like it was obvious. "Why?" Wes turned off the engine, looked at me in the rearview mirror. Because you're ours now, he said simply. I blinked. I'm what? Ours. He said it again. Like repetition would make it make sense. You texted us. You let us in. You got in the car. That makes you ours. That's not how any of this works. Dane grinned. It's how we work. Callum opened his door, stepped out, held it open for me. Come on, he said. Let's get you fixed. I stared at him, at all of them, at the building that was apparently going to patch me up with no questions asked, and I thought very clearly that I'd somehow stumbled into the weirdest, most inexplicable night of my entire life. You're all insane, I said. Probably, Dane agreed. I got out of the car. The clinic didn't look like a clinic. It looked like someone's house, or maybe a really boring office. Building, white walls, beige furniture, a reception desk with nobody behind it. West walked straight past it like he owned the place. Dane followed. Callum stayed close to me, hand hovering near my back but not quite touching. Is this legal? I asked. Depends on your definition of legal, Dane said cheerfully. That's not comforting. Wasn't meant to be. We turned down a hallway. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. My sneakers squeaked against the linoleum. Wes stopped at a door. Knocked twice. Paused. Knocked once more. The door opened. A woman stood there. Late 30s, maybe. Dark hair pulled back in a bun. Scrubs. Glasses. She looked at West, then at me, then back at West. Wrist? She asked. Yeah. Bring him in. She stepped aside. The room was small. Exam table in the center. Cabinets along the walls. A rolling stool. Everything sterile and white and clinical in a way that made my stomach flip. I hated doctors. Hated needles. Hated the way they always asked questions with answers I didn't want to give. Sit, the woman said, nodding at the exam table. I sat. She rolled the stool over, settled in front of me, held out her hand. Let me see. I extended my wrist. She took it gently, fingers probing the swelling. I winced. Hurts? What do you think? She almost smiled. Smart mouth. I like that. She turned to West. X-ray? If you need it. I need it. She stood, moved to a machine in the corner, started prepping it. Dane leaned against the wall, arms crossed. So, Elliot, you always this fun at doctor's appointments? Only when I'm being kidnapped by strangers and dragged to secret medical facilities. It's not secret, Callum said. We just don't advertise. That's literally the definition of secret. West made that sound again. The almost laugh. The doctor came back with a lead apron, draped it over my chest. Hold still. I held still. The machine whirred, clicked. She checked the screen, frowned. Clean break, she said. You're lucky. Could have been worse. Yeah, I muttered. I feel super lucky. She ignored that. Pulled out supplies, casting material, bandages. This is going to take about 20 minutes. You good with that? I nodded. She got to work. I focused on the ceiling, on the water stain in the corner that looked vaguely like a duck, on anything except the way her hands moved over my wrist, firm and efficient. Callum stepped closer, stood just to my left. You okay? Peachy. Liar. I glanced at him. He was watching me with that same steady look, the one that made me feel like he could see straight through every defense I'd built. I'm fine, I said. You keep saying that. Maybe if I say it enough, it'll be true. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. Doesn't work that way. Worth a shot. The key. Doctor wrapped the casting material around my wrist. It was cold, wet, uncomfortable. So, Dane said, still leaning against the wall, like this was the most casual thing in the world. What's your favorite color? I blinked. What? Favorite color? It's a simple question. Why do you care? Because I'm bored and you look like you could use the distraction. He wasn't wrong. Green, I said. What kind of green? Does it matter? Everything matters, I sighed. Forest green. The kind you see in old trees. Happy? Delighted, he grinned. Mine's blue. I didn't ask. I'm telling you anyway. Wes spoke from the corner. He does that. Does what? Talks when no one asks him to. Dane flipped him off without looking. Callum huffed a quiet laugh. And for a second, just a second, it felt almost normal, like I was hanging out with people who actually wanted me around instead of just tolerating my existence. The doctor finished the cast, stepped back. There, don't get it wet. Don't put weight on it. Come back in 6 weeks. 6 weeks? Give or take. Depends on how fast you heal. She peeled off her gloves, looked at West. You paying now or later? Now. He pulled out his wallet, handed her a stack of bills that looked way too thick for a broken wrist. She took it without counting. Pleasure doing business. And just like that, we were done. I slid off the exam table, cradling my newly casted arm. It felt heavy, foreign. Let's go, Wes said. We filed back out, down the hallway, past the empty reception desk, out the front door. The cold air hit me again. I sucked it in, let it clear my head. Callum opened the car door. I got in without arguing this time. Dane slid in beside me. West and Callum took the front. The engine started. We pulled out of the lot. Where are we going? I asked. Back to your place, West said. Grab your stuff. And then? Then you're staying with us. I stared at the back of his head. Excuse me? You heard me. I can't just stay with you. I don't even know you. You will. That's not how this works. Dane turned to look at me. Elliot, genuine question. Where else are you planning to go? I opened my mouth, closed it, because he had a point. I couldn't go back to the apartment. Not alone. Not with Marcus having a key and a history of showing up whenever he felt like it. I couldn't go to my mom's. She'd ask questions, ones I didn't want to answer. I didn't have friends close enough to crash with. Not anymore. I'll figure it out, I said. Or, Callum said quietly, you could let us help. Why do you even care? He turned in his seat, looked at me straight on. Because you asked. I didn't ask you specifically. Doesn't matter. You asked. We answered. That's how this works. That's insane. Yeah, Dane agreed. But here we are. I slumped back against the seat, stared out the window, watched the city slide past, tried to figure out when my life had turned into some kind of fever dream. One night, I said finally. I'll stay one night, and then I'm gone. Wes met my eyes in the rearview mirror. Sure. He didn't believe me. Honestly, I wasn't sure I believed me either. The car turned onto my street, slowed, pulled up to the curb. My building looked the same. Windows dark, front steps cracked, the whole place sagging under its own weight. Wait here, Wes said. He got out, disappeared inside. I watched through the window. What's he doing? Making sure it's safe, Callum said. Safe from what? From Marcus showing up while you're packing. My stomach twisted. Right, that was a possibility, a very real possibility. Dane's phone buzzed. He checked it. All clear. West reappeared in the doorway, waved us in. We got out of the car, walked back into the building I'd left 20 minutes ago. The elevator ride up felt slower this time, heavier. By the time we reached my floor, my heart was beating so loud I was sure they could all hear it. West was waiting by my door, holding it open. I stepped inside. The apartment looked different, smaller, like it belonged to someone else. Pack light, West said. Just what you need. I nodded, moved toward the bedroom, stopped. There was a duffel bag on the bed. One I didn't recognize, and it was already half full. I turned, looked at West. He met my gaze, didn't flinch. You packed my stuff? Some of it. When? When I checked the apartment. That was 5 minutes ago. I'm efficient. I stared at him, at the bag, at the clothes folded neatly inside. You went through my things. I got you what you'd need. That's not the point. Then what is? I didn't have an answer. Just a weird knot in my chest that felt too much like gratitude and not enough like anger. Thank you, I said quietly. Wes blinked, like he hadn't expected that. You're welcome, he said, and something in his voice made me believe he meant it. I stood there staring at the duffel bag for longer than was probably normal. West had packed my stuff, folded my clothes, gone through my drawers like it was the most natural thing in the world to sort through a stranger's life, and decide what they'd need. And the worst part? He'd gotten it right. Comfortable clothes, nothing flashy. The kind of things I actually wore instead of the stuff shoved in the back of my closet that I'd bought to impress people who didn't care. "You missed my toothbrush," I said, because I needed to say something, and that's what came out. Wes moved past me into the bathroom. Came back 30 seconds later with my toothbrush, toothpaste, and the face wash I'd been rationing because I couldn't afford to replace it yet. He dropped them into a side pocket of the bag. "Anything else?" I looked around the room. At the bed I'd barely slept in. At the dresser with the broken drawer. At the closet door that didn't close all the way. 4 months of my life crammed into a space that had never felt like mine. "No," I said. "This is fine." Dane appeared in the doorway. "We should move, just in case." "In case of what?" I asked, even though I knew. "In case he comes back with ideas." Right, because Marcus wasn't the type to let things go quietly. He was the type to show up with apologies that sounded like accusations and gifts that felt like leashes. I grabbed the duffel bag. Wes took it from me before I could argue. "I can carry my own stuff. You have one working arm. I have 2 arms. One's just temporarily useless." "Exactly." He slung the bag over his shoulder. "So let me carry it." I wanted to argue, wanted to insist that I didn't need help with every single thing, but my wrist was throbbing and I was tired, and honestly, letting someone else carry the weight for once felt like a mercy I didn't deserve, but desperately needed. "Fine," I muttered. We moved back toward the door. Callum was in the living room, standing by the window, phone pressed to his ear. "Yeah," he said into it. "We're leaving now." Pause. "No, he's fine. Wrist is set." Another pause. "I'll tell him." He hung up, looked at me. "Who was that?" I asked. "Our brother." I blinked. "You have another brother?" "4 total," Dane said from behind me. "We're triplets. He's the oldest, keeps us in line. Clearly not doing a great job if you're out here collecting random strangers." Dane grinned. "You're not random. You're specific." "I'm a guy who texted the wrong number." "Best wrong number we ever got," he said, and somehow made it sound sincere instead of like a line. We left the apartment, locked the door behind us, walked down the hallway that had always felt too narrow and too long. The elevator dinged. Doors opened. Empty again. We stepped inside. I leaned against the back wall, cradling my casted arm against my chest. The weight of the night was starting to settle. Not just the pain, the exhaustion, the reality that I'd just walked away from everything familiar and gotten into a car with 3 people I'd known for less than an hour. "You okay?" Callum asked. I was getting really tired of that question. Define okay. Still breathing, not passed out, not running. "Then yeah, I'm okay." The elevator descended, floor by floor, slow and rattling like it might give out halfway down. Dane was watching me. I could feel it. "What?" I said without looking at him. "Nothing. Just thinking." About? About how you're handling this way better than most people would." "Most people probably have better options." "Maybe, but you're still here. Still standing. That's not nothing." I didn't know what to say to that, so I didn't say anything. The elevator stopped. Doors opened. Lobby. Still empty. We walked out, across the worn carpet, past the front desk, where the night guy still wasn't paying attention. Out the front doors. The SUV was right where we left it. West popped the trunk, tossed my bag inside. I started toward the back door. Stopped. There was someone standing by the car. Tall, broad shoulders, dark jacket, hands shoved in his pockets. My heart kicked into overdrive. Marcus. He found me. Of course he found me. He always found me. "Elliot," he said, calm, too calm. "We need to talk." Wes stepped between us before I could process the movement. "No," Wes said. Simple, final. Marcus's eyes flicked to him, then to Dane and Callum, who'd moved to flank me. "Who the hell are you?" Marcus asked. "Doesn't matter," Wes said. "Walk away." Marcus laughed, short, bitter. "You think you can just take him? He's mine." "I'm not," I said. My voice shook, but I got the words out. "I'm not yours." His gaze snapped to me, and for a second I saw it. The crack in the mask. the flash of rage he usually kept buried until we were alone. "You texted me," he said, "earlier, said you were sorry, said you wanted to talk." Ice flooded my veins. "I didn't text you." "Bullshit. I have the message right here." He pulled out his phone, started to unlock it. West moved, fast, grabbed the phone out of Marcus's hand before he could react. "Hey!" West looked at the screen. His expression darkened. He turned the phone toward me. There was a message, sent from my number, 20 minutes ago. "I'm sorry, can we talk? I'm at the apartment." I stared at it. I didn't send that. I couldn't have. My phone had been in my pocket the entire time, and West had changed my passcode. Unless. "He cloned your number," Callum said quietly, reading my face. "Or he still has access to your account." Marcus smiled. "Told you. He texted me." "That's not possible," I said. But even as I said it, I knew it was. Marcus was good with tech. Too good. He'd set up all my accounts when we first started dating. Said it would be easier, safer. I'd been so stupid. "Give me the phone," Marcus said, holding out his hand to West. West didn't move. "No, that's my property." "So call the cops." Marcus's jaw tightened. "You don't know what you're getting into." "Pretty sure I do." West's voice was flat, cold, the kind of cold that made the air feel thinner. "You hurt him, you controlled him, you made him think he was the problem, and now you're trying to manipulate him back." "I love him." "No," West said. "You don't." Marcus took a step forward. Dane and Callum moved closer to me, creating a wall. "Elliot," Marcus said, looking past them, directly at me. "Come on, let's go home. We can fix this." "There's nothing to fix," I said. "Yes, there is. I'll get help. I'll change. Just come back." He'd said that before. After the first time, after the second, after every time. And I'd believed him, because I'd wanted to. Because it was easier than admitting I'd fallen for someone who saw me as something to own instead of someone to love. "No," I said. His face shifted, softened, the fake softness that came right before the anger. "You're making a mistake. Probably, but it's mine to make." Something in his eyes went dark. "You'll regret this." "Maybe," I said, "but I'll regret it on my own terms." West handed Marcus's phone back. "Leave. Now." Marcus took it, stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned, walked away, disappeared around the corner. I exhaled, didn't realize I'd been holding my breath. Dane's hand found my shoulder, squeezed gently. "You good?" "Yeah," I lied. Callum opened the car door. "Let's go." I got in. They followed. West started the engine. We pulled away from the curb, and I watched my building disappear in the rearview mirror for the second time tonight. But this time, I wasn't sure if I was running towards something or away from it. The silence in the car was suffocating. Nobody spoke. Nobody looked at me. But I could feel the tension radiating off all three of them, like heat from pavement in summer. Wes's hands were tight on the steering wheel. Callum kept glancing at his phone. Dane was staring out the window like he was counting streetlights. I pulled my knees up to my chest, wrapped my good arm around them, tried to make myself smaller. "Stop that," Wes said. I looked up. "Stop what?" "Whatever you're doing right now. That thing where you fold into yourself like you're trying to disappear. I'm not, you are." His eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. Hard, unyielding. "And you don't need to. Not here." I wanted to argue. Wanted to tell him he didn't know what he was talking about. But the words stuck in my throat. Because maybe he did know. Maybe they all did. "How far is your place?" I asked, just to break the silence. 20 minutes, Callum said. "Give or take." 20 minutes. I could do 20 minutes. I leaned my head against the window, watched the city blur past. Buildings gave way to trees. Streetlights spread farther apart. We were leaving the city proper, heading somewhere quieter, somewhere I didn't recognize. "Where exactly do you live?" I asked. "Outskirts," Dane said. "Needed space." "Space for what?" "For us." That didn't clarify anything. The car turned onto a narrow road. Trees pressed in on both sides. No houses, no lights, just darkness, and the occasional reflective eyes of something small and wild darting across the asphalt. My pulse picked up. "This is very serial killer," I said. Dane laughed. Actually laughed. "Would a serial killer have gotten your wrist fixed first?" "Maybe, to make me trust you." "Did it work?" I considered. "Jury's still out." Callum turned in his seat, looked at me. "You can leave whenever you want. We're not keeping you prisoner." "Just isolated in the woods with no car and a broken wrist. We'll drive you anywhere you want to go," Wes said. "Anytime. You just have to ask." He sounded like he meant it. I didn't know if that made me feel better or worse. The car slowed, turned onto an even narrower driveway. Gravel crunched under the tires, and then the house came into view. It wasn't what I expected. I'd been picturing some kind of creepy cabin. Small, dark, the kind of place horror movies used for the third act. This was not that. It was big, modern, all clean lines and huge windows that reflected the moonlight. Warm light glowed from inside. It looked like the kind of place that should have been in a magazine, not hidden in the woods an hour outside Seattle. West parked, killed the engine. "Home," he said. Dane got out first, opened my door, offered his hand. I stared at it. "I can walk." "I know, but you look like you're about to bolt, and I'd rather not chase you through the woods in the dark." "I'm not going to run." "Good. Then take my hand anyway." I took it. His palm was warm, rough. He pulled me out gently, steadying me when I stumbled. Callum grabbed my bag from the trunk. West was already at the front door, unlocking it. We stepped inside. The interior was just as impressive as the exterior. High ceilings, open floor plan, a kitchen that looked like it had never been used, leather couches arranged around a fireplace that was currently crackling with actual fire. "You have a fire going," I said stupidly. "Remote start," Dane said. "Callum likes it warm." Callum shot him a look. "Everyone likes it warm. I like it cold. You like being difficult." "Same thing." I stood in the entryway, clutching my casted arm, feeling completely out of place. This wasn't my world. These people with their fancy house and their coordinated rescue missions and their easy banter that spoke of years of shared history. I was an intruder, a stray they'd picked up out of pity. "Elliot," West's voice cut through my spiral. "You're doing it again." "Doing what?" "Thinking too loud." "That's not a thing." "It is when I can see it on your face." He moved closer, not touching, just present. "You're safe here. That's all that matters, right now. I don't even know you." "You will." There it was again, that certainty, that absolute conviction that this was going to work out somehow. I didn't share it. Callum set my bag down by the stairs. "Guest room is upstairs, second door on the left. Bathroom's attached. There's clothes in the closet if you need them." "Why do you have clothes in the guest room?" "In case we have guests." "Do you have guests often?" "You're the first in a while." I looked between the three of them. "This is weird, right?" "You know this is weird?" "Definitely weird," Dane agreed, "but also kind of perfect." "How is any of this perfect?" "You needed help. We were available. Seems pretty perfect to me." I wanted to argue, wanted to point out all the ways this was absolutely insane, but I was too tired, too wrung out, too done with fighting. "Okay," I said, "one night, and then we figure out what's next." "Deal," Wes said. He was lying, I could tell, but I didn't have the energy to call him on it. Callum picked up my bag again. "Come on, I'll show you the room." I followed him up the stairs, down a hallway lined with photos I didn't look at too closely. He stopped at a door, opened it. The room was simple, clean, a bed with white sheets, a dresser, a window that overlooked the trees. It looked like a sanctuary. Callum set my bag on the bed. "There's towels in the bathroom, water bottles in the mini fridge. If you need anything, just yell. One of us will hear you." "You're all staying here? Tonight?" "We live here." "All of you?" "Yeah." "That's, unusual." He shrugged. "We like it." He moved toward the door, stopped, turned back. "Elliot?" "Yeah?" "You did the right thing. Leaving. Letting us help. I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you did. My throat tightened. I nodded. Didn't trust my voice. He left. Closed the door softly behind him. I stood in the center of the room, listening to the house settle around me. Footsteps downstairs. Low voices. The crackle of the fire. My phone buzzed. I pulled it out. Unknown number. My stomach dropped. I opened the message. You think you're safe? You're not. I'll find you. I always do. Marcus. Of course. He'd probably been sitting outside the house right now, watching, waiting, or maybe he just guessed. Knew I'd run to someone, somewhere. Another message came through. You belong to me. My hands shook. I should have told them. Should have shown them the text. Let them decide what to do. But I didn't want to be a problem. Didn't want to be the reason they regretted picking me up. I deleted the messages, blocked the number. It wouldn't stop him, but maybe it would slow him down. I set the phone on the nightstand, face down, sat on the edge of the bed, and for the first time all night I let myself cry. Quietly, so no one would hear. Because even now, even here, I couldn't let go of the habit of making myself small. Downstairs someone laughed. The sound drifted up through the floorboards. Warm, easy, safe. And I wondered what it would be like to feel that way again. To laugh without checking over my shoulder first. To breathe without waiting for the other shoe to drop. To trust that when someone said you're safe, they actually meant it. I laid back on the bed, stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow I'd figure out what came next. Tonight I'd just try to survive until morning. I didn't sleep, just laid there, staring at shadows that stretched across the ceiling, listening to the house breathe around me. Creaks and settles, the hum of the heater kicking on, distant voices that eventually faded into silence. My wrist throbbed, a steady, insistent pulse that kept time with my heartbeat. I counted the beats, lost count, started over. Somewhere around 300, I heard footsteps in the hallway. They stopped outside my door. I held my breath. A soft knock, 3 taps. Elliot? Callum's voice, quiet, careful. You awake? I could have pretended I wasn't. Could have stayed silent and let him think I'd finally crashed. But I didn't. Yeah. The door opened, just a crack. Light from the hallway spilled in. Callum stood there, backlit, holding 2 mugs. Figured you might not be sleeping. Good instincts. Can I come in? I sat up. It's your house. That's not what I asked. I pulled my knees up, made space. Yeah, come in. He stepped inside, closed the door behind him, crossed to the bed and held out one of the mugs. I took it, looked down. Tea, something herbal that smelled like chamomile and honey. You keep this stuff on hand? I asked. Dane stress bakes. I stress brew. He settled on the edge of the bed, far enough away that we weren't touching, but close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off him. West stress trains. We all have our things. What are you stressed about? He looked at me over the rim of his mug. You, mostly. Me? Yeah. You showed up broken and scared and trying really hard to pretend you're not either of those things. It's stressful. I took a sip of tea. It was perfect. Not too hot. Sweet enough to cut the bitterness. I'm fine. You keep saying that. Because it's true. Elliot, he set his mug on the nightstand, turned to face me fully. You don't have to do that here. Pretend. Perform. Whatever it is you're doing, we already saw the worst of it. You don't have to convince us you're okay. What if I'm trying to convince myself? His expression softened. Then I'll let you, but you should know it's not working. I huffed a laugh. Wow. Brutal honesty. Is that a family trait? Pretty much. Dane's the worst at it. Wes doesn't even try to soften the blow. I'm the nice one. This is you being nice? Yeah. Terrifying, isn't it? I smiled despite myself. A little. We sat in silence for a minute, drinking tea, listening to the quiet. Then Callum spoke again. Can I ask you something? Depends on the question. Why didn't you tell anyone? Before tonight? About him? My smile faded. Who would I tell? Your mom, friends, someone. My mom would have blamed herself, said she should have seen the signs. And my friends, I trailed off, took another sip. I don't really have those anymore. He made sure of it. Callum's jaw tightened. How? Slowly, so I didn't notice until it was done. First it was, they don't understand us. Then it was, they're a bad influence. Then it was, why do you need them when you have me? And eventually I just stopped calling, stopped showing up, stopped trying. That's not your fault. Feels like it is. It's not. I looked at him, at the certainty in his eyes. The kind of certainty that came from someone who'd never had to doubt whether they deserved to take up space. You don't even know me, I said. I know enough. How? We've known each other for like 3 hours. 2.5, he corrected. And I know you're funny when you're scared. I know you're stubborn even when you're hurt. I know you cry quietly so no one hears you. And I know you're sitting here drinking tea with a stranger instead of sleeping because some part of you wants to trust this, wants to believe it's real. I stared at him. He stared back. That's creepy, I said. You know that's creepy, right? He grinned. Little bit, but am I wrong? No, didn't think so. I shook my head, set my mug down. You're all insane, you know that? We've been told. And you just do this? Pick up random people and bring them home? No, just you. Why? He was quiet for a moment, considering. Honest answer? Please. Because when I saw that text, something in me just knew that you were supposed to find us, that this wasn't random, that you walking into our lives tonight was the start of something important. That's, I searched for the word, intense. Yeah, we don't really do anything halfway. I noticed. His gaze held mine. And for a second, the air between us felt heavier, charged, like standing too close to a live wire. I looked away first. I should try to sleep, I said. You should. He stood, picked up his mug, moved toward the door, stopped, turned back. Elliot, yeah? If he contacts you again, you tell us. Immediately. Don't try to handle it alone. My stomach twisted. What makes you think he'll contact me? Because guys like him always do. They don't let go easy. His expression darkened. But he doesn't get to have you. Not anymore. You're ours now. There it was again. That word, ours, possessive, absolute, terrifying in its certainty. I'm not a thing you can own, I said quietly. No, you're a person we're choosing to protect. There's a difference. Is there? Yeah. He opened the door, paused in the threshold. One comes with chains, the other comes with choices, and you get to make all of them. He left before I could respond. I sat there, alone, mug cooling in my hands, thinking about chains and choices and the way Callum had looked at me like I was something worth keeping. My phone buzzed. I grabbed it off the nightstand. New message. Different number. I'm outside. I can see the lights on. I know you're awake. My blood went cold. I looked at the window. Curtains drawn. No way he could actually see inside. But he knew I was here. Somehow. He knew. Another message. Come outside. Let's talk. Just you and me. Like it used to be. My hands shook. I should have screamed. Should have thrown the phone. Should have run downstairs and told them Marcus was outside, and this was all a mistake, and I needed to leave before he hurt them too. But I didn't. I stood, walked to the window, pulled back the curtain just enough to look out. The driveway was empty, the woods dark. No car, no movement, nothing. I checked my phone again. The messages were gone, not deleted, just gone, like they'd never been there. I blinked, refreshed, nothing. Had I imagined it? Was I so messed up that I was hallucinating threatening texts now? A knock on the door made me jump. Elliot, Wes's voice, sharp, alert. You okay? I dropped the curtain, moved to the door, opened it. Wes stood there, fully dressed despite the late hour, eyes hard. What's wrong? Nothing, I just... Don't lie, I swallowed. I thought I saw something, but I didn't. It was nothing. He stepped into the room, crossed to the window, looked out. What did you see? I told you, nothing. I'm just paranoid. He pulled out his phone, typed something. A second later, his phone lit up with what looked like a security feed. Multiple cameras, covering every angle of the property, all of them showing empty woods and dark driveways. "No one's out there," he said. "But if you think you saw something, I believe you. It was probably just my imagination. Or he's messing with you, trying to make you think you're losing it." He turned to face me. "Did he text you?" I hesitated. "Elliot, maybe, I don't know. The messages disappeared." "Show me your phone." I handed it over. He scrolled through, checked deleted messages, blocked numbers, frowned. "He's spoofing numbers, sending messages that auto-delete." He looked up. "This isn't amateur hour. He's been planning this." Fear coiled in my chest. "What do I do?" "You let us handle it." He handed my phone back. "And you stop trying to protect us from him. We're not the ones who need protecting. You don't know him." "I know enough." His voice dropped, cold, final. "And if he comes for you again, he'll regret it." The certainty in Wes's voice should have scared me. It didn't. It should have felt like trading one controlling situation for another. One set of chains for a different kind. But standing there in that guest room with Wes looking at me like I was something worth defending, all I felt was relief. Bone deep, exhausting relief. "Why are you doing this?" I asked, again, because I still didn't understand. Wes tilted his head, studied me like I was a puzzle he was trying to solve. "You really want to know?" "Yeah, I do." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he moved closer. Not crowding, just present. "When I saw that text," he said slowly, "something in me recognized it. Not the words, the feeling behind it. That kind of desperation. That moment when you're so alone you'll reach for anyone, even someone you don't know. You've been there? Different circumstances. Same feeling." He looked away, out the window at the darkness beyond. "I know what it's like to think no one's coming, to believe you have to survive it alone because asking for help means admitting you're weak. And? And you're not weak. You're the opposite." He looked back at me. "It takes more strength to send that text than it does to stay silent. You chose to fight, even if you didn't know who you were fighting for." My throat tightened. "I just wanted it to stop." "I know. I didn't mean to drag you into this." "You didn't drag us anywhere. We chose to come." His voice softened, just slightly. "And we're choosing to stay." The weight of those words settled over me, heavy, warm, terrifying. "What if I'm not worth it?" whispered. "What if you are?" I didn't have an answer for that. Wes's phone buzzed. He checked it, frowned. "Dane set up motion sensors on the perimeter. Nothing's triggered. He's not out there." "Then why does it feel like he is?" "Because he got in your head. That's what people like him do. They make you doubt your own reality so you're easier to control." He pocketed his phone. "But he's not here. And even if he shows up, he's not getting to you, understand?" I nodded. "Say it." "He's not getting to me." Again. "He's not getting to me." Wes's expression shifted, something almost like approval. "Good. Now get some sleep." "I can't." "Try anyway." He moved toward the door. "West?" He stopped, looked back. "Thank you," I said, "for everything." His gaze held mine. "You don't have to thank us for doing the right thing." "Maybe not, but I'm going to anyway." The corner of his mouth twitched, almost a smile. "Get some rest, Elliot." He left. I stood there alone again. But this time the silence didn't feel suffocating. It felt like breathing room. I climbed back into bed, pulled the covers up, closed my eyes, and surprisingly, I slept. When I woke up, pale morning light was filtering through the curtains. I blinked, disoriented. My wrist ached. My mouth tasted like old tea and regret. But I was warm and safe, and for the first time in months, I'd slept through the night without jerking awake at every sound. I sat up slowly, checked my phone. No new messages, no phantom text that disappeared, just the time. 8:47 a.m. I'd slept for almost 5 hours. A soft knock on the door made me look up. "Yeah?" The door opened. Dane poked his head in, hair sleep mussed, t-shirt wrinkled, grinning like he just won something. "You're awake. Good. Breakfast is ready. You made breakfast?" "Told you, I stress bake. Also stress cook. Also just cook in general because I'm the only one who won't burn the house down." "What about the others?" "West can make protein shakes and nothing else. Callum once set water on fire. Don't ask how." I laughed. Actual, real laughter that didn't feel forced. "Okay, give me a minute." "Take your time." He started to leave. Paused. "Oh, and Elliot?" "Yeah? You look better. Less like you're about to shatter." He left before I could respond. I got up, splashed water on my face in the bathroom, avoided looking at myself in the mirror too closely because I wasn't ready to see what stared back. When I made it downstairs, the smell of coffee and something sweet hit me. The kitchen was chaos in the best way. Dane at the stove flipping pancakes, Callum at the counter pouring coffee, Wes leaning against the island scrolling through his phone. They all looked up when I walked in. "Morning," Callum said, handing me a mug. "Cream? Sugar?" "Both." He doctored it, handed it back. I took a sip. "Perfect. You're good at this," I said. "At coffee?" "At making people feel welcome." His smile was soft. "Practice." Dane slid a plate across the counter. Pancakes, bacon, eggs that looked fluffy and perfect. "I didn't know what you liked," he said, "so I made everything." I stared at the plate, at the food, at the three men who'd somehow turned my worst night into something bearable. "This is too much," I said. "It's really not," Dane replied. I sat, picked up a fork, took a bite. It was good, really good. We ate in comfortable silence, the kind that didn't need filling. Eventually, Wes set down his phone, looked at me. "We need to talk." "That sounds ominous." "It's not, just practical." He leaned forward, elbows on the counter. "You said one night. That was the deal, so what do you want to do?" I set down my fork. "I don't know." "That's fair. But here's what we're offering. You can stay, as long as you need. No strings, no expectations. Just a safe place until you figure out what comes next." "Why would you do that?" "Because you need it," Callum said simply. "And because we want to," Dane added. Wes just nodded. I looked between them, at these three strangers who'd become something else in the span of one night. "What if he finds me here?" "Then we handle it," Wes said. "What if I can't pay you back?" "We're not asking you to," Callum said. "What if I'm more trouble than I'm worth?" Dane grinned. "Then we'll let you know." I laughed, a broken, watery sound. "You're all crazy." "Probably," West agreed. "But you're staying anyway, aren't you?" I thought about my apartment, about Marcus, about the life I'd been living that had stopped feeling like mine. I thought about this house, these people, this strange, impossible safety net that had appeared out of nowhere. And I thought about the text I'd sent by accident, the wrong number that had turned into the right answer. "Yeah," I said quietly. "I'm staying." Wes nodded, like he'd known all along. Dane's grin widened. Callum's expression softened into something warm, gentle. "Good," he said, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I believed him. My phone buzzed. I tensed, couldn't help it. Dane noticed. "What is it?" I checked the screen. Unknown number, but this time the message made my breath catch. "This is Mom. Your friend West called. Said you needed me. I'm on my way. Love you, baby." I looked up. At West, who was watching me with that same unreadable expression. "You called my mom? You needed her, so yeah. How did you even—" "Your contacts last night." He shrugged. "Figured she should know you're safe." Tears pricked my eyes. "You had no right." "Maybe not, but I did it anyway." I wanted to be angry, wanted to yell at him for overstepping, but all I felt was grateful. "Thank you," I whispered. Wes's expression finally cracked, just slightly. "You're welcome." Dane raised his coffee mug. "To wrong numbers." Callum lifted his. "To new beginnings." Wes met my eyes, raised his. "To staying." I picked up my mug, clinked it against theirs. "To staying," I echoed, and meant it. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, You will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as can ever imagine. So do check it out. Hit subscribe. The next story drops soon.